What's up YouTube? My name is Will and today we're going to be talking about topping out. Now topping out is one of the absolute worst things you can do with your air suspension, and ultimately it will lead to broken dampers. Now pretty much all of you are already familiar with the term bottoming out. You're driving along and you hit a pothole or a depression in the road going hard and fast, and you feel your suspension compress to its limit, and there's that jarring feeling that transmits through your vehicle. Now topping out is the exact opposite. And believe it or not, topping out is a very common problem with air ride users because there's very little education and understanding about what it is and how to avoid it. Now, users of coilovers such as this one don't need to be nearly as concerned with what is topping out, and they don't need to be educated on topping out because it's generally not an issue when it comes to coilovers. So the manufacturer and designer of a coilover is already taking into account that you've got the weight of the vehicle pressing down at all times and you have the 4 springs pressing back upward. So the designers, through their extensive R&D process, will make sure that it's a well-balanced package that has both compression travel and rebound travel available. Typically, you would have from the starting point what we know in the industry as the 2/3, 1/3 rule. And that's how you divide up the overall amount of travel. So 2/3 available for compressing, 1/3 available for rebounding or extending. So there is no case while stationary that your coil spring would be exerting so much upward force that your damper would already be fully extended and you would have no more available rebound travel. This is where air suspension and coilovers differ vastly with regard to dialing in your perfect suspension setup. While these two dampers might look very similar on the outside, they are in fact different on the inside, and a totally different engineering approach is taken in designing them. And that means if you choose to just take your coilovers, remove the coil springs and slap on some air springs, you will not get the same thing you're getting when you buy an engineered air suspension. An engineered air suspension does still follow something very similar to that 2/3, 1/3 rule, but it utilizes a very different spring in that process. This is where people run into difficulty and where the problems begin. So you can really see what's going on here with this cutaway and what it looks like to have 0 rebound travel remaining. If you're driving around constantly topping out, you are relentlessly banging your damper shaft against the physical upper limit of the damper body, making a terrible sound like this. And what happens when you do that is that little bump stop inside the damper is eventually going to become flattened out like this one right here. And once this is flattened out, it's no longer providing any form of cushion from the physical limit of your damper shaft and the top of the damper body. And in doing that, you will compromise your damper entirely. It will no longer provide damping force and it will become garbage. So how do you avoid damaging your suspension, you ask? Well, being aware and cognizant of the sound topping out makes is a great first step to better suspension care. Topping out generally isn't going to occur in your front and rear suspension at the same time. So what I do next is I figure out, am I topping out in the front or the rear? Topping out is when you have too much pressure in your air spring. So the obvious fix there is to reduce the pressure in your air spring. The first step I take is, say I know it's my front air springs topping out, I'm going to reduce the pressure there by 10 psi, go out for a test drive and see if the topping out state is still occurring. If it is still occurring, I would go ahead and make small 1 or 2 psi adjustments downward from there until it's no longer happening and my suspension has again travel in both compression and rebound. So as you're reducing that air spring pressure to avoid topping out, of course, your vehicle is also getting lower to the ground, but you're able to make up that lost height through your threaded body. I do make a whole separate video with an in-depth run through of how and why the bodies are threaded and what adjustments you can make to gain that height back or to maximize stiffness, maximize comfort, whatever it may be that you're looking for. So go check that video out right here. If you have any questions, I urge you to drop a comment below. I do try to get back to all of you. If you have anything else that you need from us, please contact the Bag Riders tech support line. We've got lots of experience and we'd love to help you. Again, my name is Will, and I'll see you on the next one.